All right, let's continue on with this thing. Hopefully you guys got a chance to watch the seamless boot video. I put this one on in that video. Now I'm going to do this side. But real quick, I wanted to show you guys something cool. These old shocks have the part number on them. 111, what is that, 513? I can't hardly see it through the camera. 301, 031D. So, yeah. These are original, probably. I don't know, it just looks like a Bilstein, but maybe it isn't. It's, I think they were made by Boge. I think that's what most of them were. But it has that same German, those two little stripes on it there. They actually feel in pretty good shape, like they work. Like they still have oil in them. Seem to work up and down. What was on the front of this was aftermarket Bilsteins, which if you really want your car to ride like crap, get some aftermarket. Get the Bilstein ones, the blue. They're just way too stiff for the front of this car. Makes it ride like a tractor. I put those on the rear of this truck. They're perfect for that. Being that stiff, they kind of help with the sway on that vehicle. Yeah, if you've ever seen the original shocks, they had like a 3-piece bushing in the bottom. So yeah, these are original from '54. And they still, like I said, they still work. I may end up putting these in the front because, to be all honesty, in all honesty, you really need a really, really soft front suspension. I was talking to my friend Tom, and he was telling me about Boge shocks and how that they really had a better ride. And then I realized that I had original ones in my 61. Yeah, this car has original Boge shocks in it, and I'm going to tell you, it rides amazing. There's nothing else you'll ever feel. You go railroad tracks in this thing, it just soaks them up like nothing. It's just amazing. Really a nice feel for an old Volkswagen. But in the rear, I could put even KYBs on it, and really it still will be pretty smooth. I think I've got a pair of KYBs that might be okay for the rear. They work good in the rear, but those are even too stiff for the front. So like Wolfsburg West sells an oil shock that's supposed to be near the original, and again, it doesn't ride anything like the old Boge. So I don't know if I can find some shock bushings for the bottom. Let's see if I can find one. I don't know if I can. Maybe I'll just run those. You guys will think, oh, you're being cheap by doing that. Well, those shocks, the Boge shocks, are near $100 a piece if you can find them. I don't even know if you can, but if these ones do the job, I can always change the shocks later. It's not hard to change the shocks. So I might just run these in the front, and then you see how it drives, and if it seems to drive okay, maybe I'll just leave them there. And then if it doesn't drive very good, it's not hard to change the shocks. A few minutes up on the lift there, and I can have another set put on. So that'll save me $200. All right, well, guys, the question is, whatever this is, 70-year-old German or new Brazilian Chinese or German Chinese, whatever they are. They say they're German, but they're not. They're Chinese, probably. Assembled in Germany or something crap like that. This thing looks really in perfect shape. I really don't see any reason to replace it. And the rubber's just good. I don't know. I think I'm going to take a chance on it, I think. I don't know. It's been under the car all this time, so, you know, and these two, I mean, they look, see a little bit of cracking going on right here, but not much. And I don't see it separating anywhere. And, you know, I'm just afraid of the new crap you get. You know, are they going to be better or worse? I don't know. I think I'm going to take a chance on those too. They're not separated. And, oh, I got you guys in frame. They're not separated at all. They still have original part numbers on them. They're in good shape. Might be a not broke thing. Not broke, don't fix it, right? That's kind of where I'm thinking. But I'm going to take them off and clean and paint this bracket. So I'll do that. Then the other thing I was going to talk to you guys about. We got the front beam here. And if you look here, let me get you guys up close so you can see. These boots are still in perfect condition. Okay, I tried seeing if there's play in the tie rod ends. I can't exactly show that in the, you know, on camera, but there's no play. I've collapsed them. They're tight. There's no play. There's nothing in this whole front end, and it's original because it has the left side that you can't adjust, and then the right side has the adjuster, and then you turn the steering wheel. You pull off the steering wheel and then center it by doing that. So yeah, look at that. It's crazy. And they still have the grease fittings in them. Everything's tight. The tie rod ends are tight. The boots are still in existence. I mean, they're still, rubber's still pliable on them. They're not crusty. These look good. I don't know. I think, again, I don't want to take it apart if it's not bad. And then the other thing is the link pins and king pins are in excellent shape. So now I think the thing to do when it's like that is just to go ahead and I'm going to paint this. So I think what I'm going to do on this thing, let's look at it back further so you guys can see. I think I'm just going to put this on a drop cloth and paint this side of it, clean it up and paint this side, and just put it on the car and then clean up the rest of this a little bit. It has that crusty grease on it that's actually protected it all, you know, for all these years. Kept it like, you know, that's Musty One's way to protect the underside of a car. I mean, a lot of guys do that back east where you have a lot of, you know, rust issues. Coat the car with oil and then even let the dirt just get on it, and it just makes a coating on there that, you know, it just rust proofs it really good. Works really good, but it's so messy. I don't like doing that because of the mess. You know, out here there's really no need to do that. Back east or somewhere, you know, it's a good idea to get it wet with, like, he uses real thick oil, and then let the dirt just kind of get on it and whatever, and leave that coating on there, and it just makes it turns into something like this, and it just protects it from water. So it works really good, but I just don't like the mess of it. So anyway, but I think I'm just going to put this back on the car and, you know, paint the side and put it back on the car and then work on it on there versus trying to put it on the stand or something like that and do it. It doesn't make sense. It's really, there's no need to take this apart. The only thing I was thinking is maybe taking this off, taking off the steering box and putting new seals in it. But then I'm not sure on that either, because I have a feeling I'm going to have trouble getting that pitman arm off, and I don't really want to You look at these, they still have the original castle nuts, and this has never been apart. So I don't want to ruin these boots taking these off. Use a pickle fork and take it off. So to get that off, so that's what I was thinking. I might just leave SDP in the steering box, and it will leak out. It doesn't leak out of this seal, but it leaks out of this one here a little bit. So if I just fill it up to that point, it'd probably be okay. Enough would slosh around in there and keep everything wet. Maybe that'll be okay. I don't know. I'll decide on that later, but maybe I'll just put it in the car first and we'll go from there. Talk to you guys later. All right, this crud took forever to get off of here. When I got it clean enough, that's good enough for me. Not looking for perfection on that, but just kind of wanted to start off fresh, I guess. So I didn't have, 70 years or 50 years of crud underneath there. Whenever it started leaking, who knows when. All right, move forward. But I thought I'd show some of you guys this early cars. Might be kind of interesting to some of you guys that have never seen this before. So this on these cars was an oil slinger. To get you guys in frame, might help. Or was this was for the, yeah, I guess the oil slinger right here. I had this thing off here. It's not being nice. But anyway, if you notice, there's a little tube at the end. A little tube fits into a little hole. It goes there. And it goes out the brake drum here on the early ones. So my thing is you guys would think, you guys would go, oh man, these axle seals always leak. It's like, I think they kind of knew their design wasn't very good, so they made a really elaborate oil slinger on the first cars and the early cars, and then they decided, we'll just leave that off later. So that was kind of interesting. Well, check this out. They never got adjusted right. Look at that. They just ran one side of the shoes out instead of doing both. You're supposed to do, on a Volkswagen, you're supposed to do one side tight, back it off, do the other side, tighten it up, back it off so that they're even. And look, this one here, there's no threads open. That one there, they did it like that. Notice how long that was like that. Well, it looks like this side they did right. There's even here and even there. Interesting. Very interesting stuff here. So it's really hard to get these apart when they're just like that. It's easier when they're mounted. But I want to take them off and clean them. Just, this is filthy, and get that looking good. And maybe I'll paint it, I guess. All right, we're back to assembling this thing. I thought I'd show this to you. You notice the length of this is way longer than on the later model cars. Just thought that was kind of interesting. All right, so first we're putting the oil seal in. Hopefully I get this in straight. This one just goes in flush. Buses have a different one, I think. Got a little hole in it. It's different. Need to lube it with some 80-90. Lube my O-ring with some 80-90. Slide it on there. I can actually take this off right now. Carefully get this thing on there and make sure it's not twisted. There is a specific direction to this thing. Like that. And whoops, I forgot something. Duh. Got it in my hand. Spacer, or your washer, then your O-ring. I really don't see any difference in the thickness between the new ones and the other ones, but I got the original one there, so just in case. Well, this doesn't look very pitted, but it just, I don't know. If it leaks, I'll have to replace this. So I'll put this on. I'll put a little oil on it, just to be safe. I mean, I'm putting oil on the, it's kind of double hitting it here. And then I'm going to put some oil on right here, the mating surface where the O-ring goes. You see it's tapered on this side, so you put that on first, like that. Then the outer O-ring, I have just a little tiny bit of lube on there so it doesn't mess up while it's getting crushed. Remember, behind this bearing there's a spacer, and that needs to be in there the correct direction too. So, like I said, I go to the manual. Okay, so that's on. Then we're gonna put this thing on here, and then this guy here. So, but actually this gasket next. I don't know if this year had the gasket. I don't think it did. No, because if you look here, see, you see how that conflicts. If you can see how that conflicts there, you see how it has this edge, this end. Okay, this one did not have a gasket, so you got to kind of look at these things on these cars. There's different ones. I said this one has the little bump, so the O-ring does the entire sealing. So we'll get this on like that. Be careful. Sometimes you do this here. Take this off. Put this on. I think which direction this thing went. I think that has something to do with the springs. Let me look at the other side. And then this little groove here has to be in the right place. So I'll put this on like that. I think this thing goes on the top because the e-brake cable goes right there. Yeah, it's a Titan. It's a tight. Put this on and then slide this end in so that you don't ruin your seal. All right, we'll go with that. All right, here's some things to check on your brake shoes to know whether you got it all right. Is one of the things you want to make sure your e-brake back here, your e-brake cable is pushed all the way up against the seat. You get you guys back in there. You can see right there, it's pushed against those that little hooky looking thing, a horseshoe thing there. It has to be tight up against there. If you don't have it tight up against there, then your e-brake is gonna cause you problems on these old split cases. I don't know what years they are similar to. I think it's just mostly split cases are like this. And then your two springs, your stronger spring, well, I don't know. I got this one seemed like it was stronger than the other one. Should be on the e-brake side to help it pull that one back. Somebody might say, well, it's supposed to be on the secondary shoe, which is the back shoe, but I think this one's supposed to go here. That's my guess. And then what I do to get this on is, okay, I put this shoe on first. Okay, put the clip on, hold it in place. Some of you guys are going to go, oh, you should have put new hardware. Yeah, maybe, but that's all right. It's fine. I don't know. I don't like the new hardware. A lot of it's garbage, and these ones aren't terribly bad. They seem to be pretty good, so I'm going to run with them. But the new hardware quality is just sometimes junk. So anyway, this is your primary shoe to the front of the car, secondary shoe to the rear of the car. So primary shoe, put it on first. What I do with the e-brake cable on this is I put it on first. I always put my e-brake cable on first. On every, no matter, most of them are the e-brakes in the back. This one, they're in the front. So put the shoe on first, then I stack from there. So I'll put this keeper on to hold that shoe in place. And then what I do is I take my spring down here and I hook it in this end, and I'll also hook it in that end. Okay, and I'll hold this shoe kind of like down here. So I'll have it kind of going inward. And then what I'll do is I'll walk it upward and I'll bend it way out, okay? And then I'll slide this thing in place. Okay, I'll get one end, get this end in first, and then I'll kind of move it around and kind of work it until I can get this end in. And I'll slide it down the groove and get it into the right place. Because if you want to bust your knuckles, you can try putting that spring on by just hooking it. You're probably going to get hurt. That's just the way it is. I've done tons and tons of drum brakes before. You know, I was a mechanic in a shop. I was an AC master auto technician. I did a lot of brakes, tons of them. And a lot of these were drum. The rear car, all cars were rear drum. So if you try and hook these on there, you're probably going to get hurt. It's best to use the leverage of the shoe by just kind of bending it out. So put that one in place, and then I put this keeper on, then I put that spring on. And you see the spring is down flush on this side, and you hook it from the reverse side on this end. I don't know why they made it that way. It's kind of a pain. They're really hard to get unhooked. I had a hard time getting them unhooked, and especially when they're old and greasy and not on the car. If they're on the car, it's a lot easier to remove the shoes. So this is also a really cool tool. This is a Mac tool here that I use, and if you notice, this end's really narrow, and you can use it to get those little horseshoe clips off of there. You can actually hook it in there and twist it. It's not really designed for that. It's designed for springs, like General Motors springs, where they go on like this and hook. But it works really good for those horseshoe clips. I can put it in there and I just twist it, and then I twist it the other way, and I can take those horseshoe clips out virtually in seconds. So it's just stuff I did from being a brake man. You know, that was my big thing. Was I did a lot of brakes and a lot of front end stuff and general repair. They had a tune-up guy, so I didn't do that. I mean, I knew how to do it, but I just didn't. You know, it's just the way we got our work, and I kind of got the crap work, which brakes wasn't crap. Most of this crap is like, you know, doing a timing belt and water pump or something like that. Those aren't, you know, most cars weren't very fun in the 80s. All right, that's how you do them. Little trick there. Maybe I'll show it on the next side. I'm not sure. It's just kind of hard to do. I'm down too low down here. Normally I'd have this up on the lift to do this, but the lift's been tied up and it's too hard to move this thing without stuff to do it. So without the wheels on it, and I started working on it over here, and that's the way it works. Let's see what exciting stuff we have to find underneath here. All right, again, signs of low mileage car. It still has the ball bearings, so they feel like they're in good shape when I spun the wheel. But I'm going to replace them with the rollers. And the grease, I mean, it feels like it was like good grease, like from back in the day. Old German stuff, like what I used to see. Some of the cars would get them apart for the first time. Yeah, cool. I'm sure this car had low miles. It did not. I think these brakes have been done once. The back ones I think were, but I bet you this car had just over 100,000 miles on it. You'll find out later. Show you guys an old trick that I've done for years, and it's not guaranteed, but I have rarely ever ruined a seal from doing this. I actually have more difficulty getting them out when I try and pry the seal out. Usually I end up ruining it even worse. So I see my bearing in there. Oh, this one here is not going to come out easy, I can tell. Let's see if it did it. I mean, I'm going to replace the seal on these because it's so old. But most of the time, because this is a grease seal, even if it gets a little bit damaged, it'll still do its job. And this one doesn't even look like it got damaged, even from that much. Look at how badly I had to beat that thing to get it out of here. So a little trick there. I've done that for years. If you wanted to try it, if you want to do it the other way, try and prying it out of there, go for it. You know, maybe you'll learn what I learned over the years, trying to put a screwdriver in here and pry on that end. You're going to damage the seal right there. Almost every time you're going to put a dent in it and it's not going to seal. There's less chances that it gets ruined that way. Believe it or not. Seems crazy, but it is. I've done probably, I don't know, probably near 1,000. And I think I've damaged one or two. That's it. Another thing, taking these wheel bearing races out. A nice long punch. I bought this thing, I don't know how many years ago. Off, I think, the Mack truck. Let me see. What does it say? May have been. I can't remember. I was when I was a mechanic. There's a notch in all these usually. Can't feel it. Doesn't feel like there's a notch in this one. See if I can find it. I'll bring it back in. Well, usually there's a notch in there. There isn't on this old guy. This has probably been on here. This is an original ring drum for sure. I got it. felt it. Knock the races out. Most of the brake drums I take apart, I mean, I don't know about Volkswagens, I can't remember. Most of them have a notch in the to put your punch. Almost got it. Alright, so the races are out. Another big mistake people make. So you can look inside here. Let's look. You can see there's no notch in there for this one. Usually they'll have like a little notch here and a little notch there on each side so you can punch the races out. They weren't thinking about that back in 1954. Okay, when I put the new ones in, I've seen guys, you got to make sure that they bottom out all the way in. I've seen guys a lot of times put the races in and not bottom out all the way. If you do that, what happens is you tighten up your wheel. You think you got your wheel bearings nice and tight. You drive down the road, all of a sudden they come loose again. And it'll happen 2 or 3 times. So make sure when you put the races in, get yourself a race tool and do it right. Hey, anybody remember the did brakes before, the Ford, I think it was a Ford Escorts, and it used to, if you didn't put Loctite on the brake calipers, the bolts would back out. You know what I put on them? Ultra copper, which is similar to this product. I never used Loctite on those. I use this on the threads as a thread locker. These have like a wire tie system that I think is pretty outdated, so we're not going to go with that. We're just going to go with what I know works, which is what I'm doing. Little silicone on the threads, and that works great as a thread. It works better than blue Loctite. If you try it, you'll be super happy. I never had one of those come back, and believe me, I worked at a military base, and it was a military base exchange, and if I'm going to tell you, everybody used to come there wanting free stuff. I mean, they used to come, if there was anything wrong, they would come back and get all their money back and whatever, all kinds of crap I saw. And I never had a car come back for those things coming loose. Believe me, I would have if there was a problem. Let me tighten these down. Well, I wasn't so lucky on this side, but kind of knew that was going to happen. It's been in there, what, probably 50 years or so. It's stuck in there really good. This seal is. I can't get it out. I have to beat it out of there. That's one of the reasons I bought new ones. I mean, no big deal. So, Again, the same thing on this side is on the other one. Original ball bearings, and they're in really good shape. I mean, these are German seals. I wonder, I'm sure they did the brakes once, but a lot of stuff looks original in here. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you never know. Maybe they didn't. They look pretty new. The linings weren't that, they had pretty thick linings on them, so I mean, I think they were just done. And then I think I remember seeing an indication that they hadn't done the lines yet either. All the brake lines were original. None of them have changed. But they did the master cylinder, and I think they did the brakes, probably did them so wrong that they just probably didn't work, and that's probably why they stopped driving the car. Yeah, I mean, it didn't take much back then to stop driving something, because Volkswagens were cheap. You know, who cared? Nobody cared. So it's hard to say. I mean, the engine that was in this car was supposed to be good, and the reason that the friend of mine that got this car ended up with it is because he got it from, he worked at a shop and somebody brought it in, and this guy says, hey, I want the engine out of this car. I don't want the car. You want the car? And he gave him a price for it. It wasn't much. And he says, all I want is the engine out of it. So I know the engine was good that was in here, probably was 36 horse. I don't know why somebody would have saved it. Back then we were throwing away 36 horse. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, so that's kind of an interesting story on this thing. We'll get it done. All right, so one of the things I always bugs me about some of the stuff bugs me about these cars. You got to check all your bearings before you grease them, because you don't want to do it after it's greased. Then you're gonna have to clean it all off. And like this one, a little too tight. So even though the spindle's in perfect condition, there's no wear on that spindle at all. In fact, that's probably the reason why it's like that. There's a little burr right there. I don't know what happened there, but I have to clean that up, or that's going to ruin the seal putting it on. But you got to put your bearings on these old VWs. There's such tight tolerance. If you put it on without doing that and you just hammer the drum on, you probably will have a hell of a time getting it back off. So I always take and clean them up with a piece of emery. Take like this here. This is like, I think 320. And just do this to it. Just get enough of it off there. It's got to be like perfect. And like that. You can see that spindle's just perfect. There's nothing, no burrs on them. But if you've got burrs on that spindle, I mean, I've seen them with a little bit of burrs, it's all right. But if I've seen them where they had like, you know, where you can see the bearing had spun on there. Almost need to replace them. A lot of times you need to replace the spindle. It's got a lot of burrs on it, because the bearing's gonna go on a little cockeyed. Goes on a little cockeyed. See, now that's almost there. I'm gonna do just a little bit more. The other side I had to emery the heck out of it. So anyway, that's what's going on right now. It's just doing the brakes on this thing takes, like I used to do these brake jobs back in the old days. I do a brake job in an hour, you know. Now it's like 2 days because of the old car, you know, this old stuff that you got to recheck everything, clean everything, paint get all the rust off, put it in the sandblaster, all that stuff I'm doing. So it takes a lot of time. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. It's real quick, a couple things to look for if you're doing these and you're not watching my shorts. I got a lot of this stuff on shorts because it seems like it's a great way for you guys to learn this little stuff. These adjusters on this front can be upside down. The aftermarket ones you buy, I don't think they have an even groove on both sides, but I think the old ones, the original ones, had an uneven, like, it's, if you see the shape of the shoe, it's going that way. This one was on upside down. So I always check that before you do any, before I start grinding shoes or anything like that. I'll do that. And on old cars, I mean on these cars back in the old days, I never would have to grind shoes. I never had to do that. But on today, with the quality of parts has gotten worse and just stuff like that, sometimes I got to take the shoes off and grind them, you know, just to fit them. You got to fit everything in the car, and then always dry fit the drum on there. Take the drum before you put the grease on. Before you put the grease on here. Before you put all the grease and all that stuff, because you don't want that conflicting with everything. You want to know that the drum fits on like that. You know, it actually fits, because it might not. You might find that it doesn't fit on there, and then double check and make sure that this can be upside down, the adjuster can be upside down, or on the wheel cylinder, sometimes they're slotted, you know, at an angle. Make sure that's not right. And after all that, and you know that your drum might be new, or if it's, I'm going to kick this one and clean it right now, but you know it's not. Well, if the drum's new, it's going to be better, right? So if it's old, you know, and it's worn past where it should be, you shouldn't be using it. But I'm sure these ones aren't. I'm not going to measure them, but just from looking at them, I usually can know just from experience. But anyway, usually pretty close, and I'm not looking for that anyway on this car. Even if it doesn't stop quite as good as it used to, that's fine. But the key thing is dry fit everything, because like I said, the quality of parts is terrible. In that way, before you get your wheel bearings all greased up and then have it taken on and off a bunch of times, you know, you just do all that, make sure it's right, it'll fit, and then grease up the wheel bearings, put it together. Another indicator is this thing. These are original and they look in pretty good shape. You can tell they're original. The aftermarket ones don't fit the same, but that's kind of cool. And the little tab's still on it. It looks like they've been bent at least one other time. So I bet you this thing's only been repacked once. They did the brakes and repacked the wheel bearings, and probably once ever. All right, I thought I'd just tell you guys this. I did this off camera, but on the front I had to take it apart like 6 or 7 times. Just got frustrated with trying to film it. It's just too hard to stop the camera, start over again. I had to grind here and there on the shoes, on both of them on this side. And I definitely checked, so you always check the wheel cylinder and make sure that there's not, see how that's offset, and flip it or whatever and make sure that that's not it. It's not the wheel cylinder or the adjuster, and it wasn't. So anyway, that's kind of how, I had a friend who had a shop, and I told him, I said, listen, you need to charge people by the hour, period. You cannot charge people a fixed price for the job on these, because it is restoration work. Everything you do is restoration. You have to fit everything on the car. He's like, yeah, well, no, people wouldn't want to pay it. I said, then just don't do it, because you aren't going to make any money. He kept losing money on stuff. So that's what happens, because you can't, how can you charge for that? You can't give them a fixed price and then do the job 6 times. You just can't do that. So anyway, but that's the deal now. So that's just the way it is on these old things. But it'll be fine now. It's going to be exciting. I don't know, this one's a little sticky, but I think it's okay. See, it's dragging. That's normal. It's about the normal drag for one that's adjusted. So yeah, so it's okay if it's dragging a little bit like that, but because it's gonna, what happens is the shoes are a different arc than the drum is, and they have to wear themselves in. So as you drive it just a little bit, that's going to happen. They're going to wear themselves into the drum. And I don't think these ever been machined. I looked at them, and they had like the factory little marks on them. I don't know, they didn't have that much wear on them or anything. So it's pretty crazy. So I'm going to try something. I'm going to see if I can do it. I'm going to try putting on these stops. I just got them a minute ago. And I'm just going to put this thing down like that. And what I'll do is I'm going to try using a C-clamp to put them on. Let's see if it works. So like normally I'll just do these when the beam is, before I put the trailing arms on. But I couldn't get the thing all the way over here, but maybe if it'll work there. Kind of push up against that thing. Let's see. It might work. I've moved them with some WD-40 so they slide a little easier. Once it gets all the way in there, well, that didn't work. Let's try it with you guys in a stand there. I don't know. It's like, this isn't quite long enough. So it's going to slip off a few times. Maybe it is now that I've got it. Yeah, I'm kind of getting it on there now. If I just get it on a little bit further. Probably hit on it maybe, huh? But it's hard to get a hammer in there. I really need to be sitting up there too. Let's try getting up there. Get some weight on there. That turns the right way. Well, that's working. That might work. Might be a winner. Oh yeah. tell if it's all the way on. I think it is. Looks like it is. You guys can see it from there. I don't know, I can't really see very good from here. That looks like it's on. Let's say that's, I think I got it. Check it one more time. Let's see, that's a winner. Well, no. Well, no, when you test drive it, it falls off, then it didn't work. These aren't too expensive anyway. At least if you don't buy them at the normal parts stores, they aren't too bad. Buy them anywhere around here, they want like almost $10 a piece. They're a lot cheaper online. Same ones too. Got to know those name brands. Alright, I spent a little bit of money. These are cheap, actually. These are the cheapest things there are, actually. On Rock Auto, they were 26 something. And they're socks, but they're Mexican ones. They're not the German socks. There's different ones. And apparently Socks makes Boge, so it should be Socks Boge shocks. So we'll hope that they work as good as the original ones do. Those look nice on their original equipment. So it should be. I don't know why they have the aftermarket ones, and these are that cheap. And these are real oil shocks too. They're not gas charged. If you have enough VWs, you're gonna love yourself a little more if you buy one of these. Alright guys, there it is. It's all ready. Let's get up there and take a look at it. So it's got the new boots. I put the KYBs in the back where they work good in the rear. In the front they're just way too stiff. They work really nice in rear. Kind of makes it a little stiffer than stock, and it kind of needs that with all the stuff moving back here. I am missing the clutch cable. They sent the wrong, I don't know, they sent me a rabbit cable. So anyway, they're fixing that. That should be here tomorrow or the next day. Well, today's the Wednesday today, so that's going to be Thanksgiving tomorrow, right? So the comes to get her Saturday or something like that. So I figured I want to get this up here for you guys now. But I've got everything done. We got this Socks Boge in the front. We got everything's in perfect shape on the front end. I greased it all. Everything took grease really well. I was surprised. I wasn't expecting to have to pull some grease fittings out and clean out orifices, and it didn't need it. So that's pretty amazing. Got all the brake lines in. I've got all the brakes done. All I need to do, it's all adjusted. E-brake works. If you notice, it's on its own. Doesn't need a wood block anymore. Transmission, the oil that was in it was pretty darn clean. Somebody even said that in the video. I really don't think that thing had very many miles on it. There's really no reason to take it apart at this point. I'm going to drive it first. Yeah, it's a bit of work to take it back out later, but man, it's a lot more work to go through that trans. I don't even remember all the tricks and anything to those. That's been since I was 17 or 18 years old. About 17, I guess. I was in high school, still 17, 16. Since I've seen the inside of one of those. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool, man. So it's going to sit outside. Yeah, you know, it will probably get wet and it'll probably get rained on once or twice. 5150, I'm not going to put ducks in it and blame Dubworks. If you guys ever watch 5150 MXVW channel, you guys got to catch up on. He's just got some cool, funny stuff. A lot of cool barn finds and stuff like that. And he just had another YouTube channel. We're all friends. We all know each other, you know, through email and talking on the phone and whatever. And you know, Dubworks, I guess, left it outside, pushed his restored pan outside, and it had, you know, these things were full of water. He was a little upset. So, but it's not worried. I can't get it inside anywhere probably. So if it gets wet, it gets wet. It probably won't hurt it, especially because it's got good paint on it. I don't think it's had that much paint on his. Maybe it looked kind of like spray canned. So this one's got real paint, epoxy primer and all that on there. So it won't rust much if it does outside. So anyway, I think we're looking pretty good. See what you guys think in your comments. Let me know what you want to see. We're hoping, got a few things coming up. I'm not putting the 40 horse that I'm going to build in this. In fact, I'm not really sure what I'm putting in this yet. But one of the next things I really need to do is get this thing out of here, get the garage cleaned up, and then there's some sanding I need to do, which I'm going to kind of do outside. It's going to get some dust all over that pan, which is a drag, but that's just what it is. I was actually working on cleaning up this nightmare over here. This has been going on for years with that, all the engine problems I had in my car. I just got junk everywhere, and it just, engines came in and out and just accumulated. So I got to get this all cleaned out, and I was in the middle of doing that. And for those of you guys who don't watch the shorts, this happened. So that's my moving thing there. So I had some tree branches I had to move, some tree stuff I had to move real quick. I was going to move those, and the steering went out on this, and it's done it already once. This is the second time I had to change the steering box in it. And I was moving the engines from over there, this is one of them, into here, trying to get this organized. So we're going to have this thing come apart here. This is not going to go in that car. I'm thinking I just want to have an extra rebuilt engine. You just don't know. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do, really. I just had 2 months worth of work cancel, just like that. So I'm going to try to get this thing up to Kelly Park, but I really am apprehensive to buying a trailer right now. What, just carry an extra engine, just in case? I don't really know. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'd like to go to Kelly Park in that thing, but I don't think I'm going to drive it that far. That's a long drive in that thing. But it looks like we'll be going to Buses by the Bridge and some of those events, because I wasn't going to go, but now it's like that happened. So, and that's kind of a bummer. That's a 2/3 of my income, and it's been gone for 2 years. So the 2/3 of my income has been gone. I've been working on 1/3 of what I normally make in my other business. So yeah, you know, I'm not going to take on any cars. I lose money on every car that I build. Anything that I do for someone else, I don't have time to lose anybody else's money. I lose enough on my own. But hopefully something else will come up that, you know, is profitable, because that's gone forever. That 2/3 of my income is not going to come back. So it's kind of scary. I'm hoping that we can crank up YouTube and make that the other bit. It's never going to become what I used to make, but oh well, it's just what it is. So, but yeah, we're hoping to crank this up a little more and do more videos and trying to increase the quality. And as soon as I get some of the stuff out of here, I can make things look a little nicer in the background. But literally, I am just inundated with stuff, cars right now. Well, there is a 1% chance that that might come back, but I'm not going to count on that. So you just never know. It might come back in a couple months. Something might happen, but I doubt that's going to. I'm pretty much done making really good money. I'm just going to make average income now and whatever, you know. So it's all right. It's just the way it is. Hopefully the YouTube, like I said, will take up a little more of the slack. It's a long ways from doing that right now, but who knows? With your help and all the stuff you guys have been doing, I really want to say that I totally appreciate everybody who watches the videos, everybody who likes them, makes the comments. Even if you don't have time to do such, you just watch it. I just appreciate all of you guys. And if it wasn't for you guys, YouTube's nothing. It wouldn't even work. So you guys are a really important part of what's happening and the future of me, pretty much. Because I don't know what else I'm going to do. You know, it's like, it's pretty challenging. I see some pretty scary stuff coming up economically, and I see some, you know, my business stuff is kind of going weird. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. So anyway, yeah, the pandemic kind of ended some stuff. They postponed things and then decided to just use somebody else at this point. You know, they just decided, well, we're going to go this direction, and, you know, who knows? I don't know how it's going to work out for them, but we'll see. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and see your comments. And I really appreciate every one of you guys that comes and checks it out. Talk to you later.